Okay, so today we're going to talk about slope-intercept form. This is one of my favorite forms of linear equations, if you can have that. The reason why I like this is because in this one form of the equation, it makes it simpler for us to graph, okay, like quicker. So the slope is the rise over run. A y-intercept is the point where it crosses the y-axis. Sorry, that's kind of hard to put there. The point where it crosses the y-axis. So this is slope-intercept form, y equals mx plus b, where m is our slope and b is our y-intercept. Okay, so intercept means where something connects. A formula for the equation of a line using its slope and its y-intercept is the definition of a slope-intercept form. So this equation will allow us to graph a straight line on a coordinate plane. Okay, so let's scroll down here. So it says steps for graphing. Step number 1, start by placing a point at the y-intercept. Okay, so what the y-intercept is where the graph crosses the y-axis right here, up and down axis. So this is our equation. The b is our y-intercept, so that is a positive 2. So the first step is you're going to start by placing a point at positive 2 at your graph on your y-intercept. This is our b. Okay. Then it says, from that point, count out the slope to find the next point. You need to be careful about negatives. Okay, so for example here, my slope is -3. If it's a whole number, what do? You can put it over 1. So the slope of this line is -3, 1. So I'm going to start from this dot, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 1. 1, 2, 3, 1. And so it says, connect the 2 points to form a line. I always do 3 points. So just to recap what we did, they gave us the equation of a line. We started with the y-intercept at positive 2. We used the slope to find our next 2 points, and it was a -3 over 1. So 1, 2, 3, write 1. 1, 2, 3, write 1. One thing that I confirm is that I did have a negative slope. My graph is going down from left to right, which is important. Okay? So we are going to do some practice. On the next page, they have 2 problems where we need to write the equation and 2 problems where we're going to graph the line. So if you are asked to write an equation, you need to pick out 2 things. You need to pick out the slope and the y-intercept. So basically you're kind of asking yourself, what is the slope and what is the y-intercept? The M and the B, that's what you would define. So where does your first graph cross the y-axis? Well, it crosses it right here. So there is your B, and that is a -1. Okay, I'm going to write this out here. Okay, then let's find the slope. So you could use these 2 points, or this is a nice intersection as well, so I can use that one. So I'm going to go down 1, right, 1, 2, 3. So -1, +3. So your slope is -1/3. And then what you're going to do is you're just going to take and put these two things in the equation. The y and the x stay there. So I'm going to write out y equals, my m is -1/3. That was the slope I just got from my graph. And your b is a -1. So I literally, instead of writing plus anything, I'm just going to write -1. Okay. Questions? Okay, so let's do our next one. The first step we need to find is the y-intercept. So this one crosses our y-axis at a -1, 2, 3. So our b is -3. Then if we find the slope of that line, I would go up from this point, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 units, +6, and over 1. So my slope is 6/1, which you can just write as a 6. If you go to your equation, then you're going to have y equals, my slope was 6. Write your y and x, and my intercept is a -3, so you have to write -3 for your b. Question?
How come not right off the bat you wouldn't just go straight right and then up?
You have to do rise over run. You have to move up or down before you move left or right. Good question. Yep. Okay. Our next two, we're going to graph them. So this is kind of what we started with. So you could use those 3 steps from the left-hand page. There is a +4. That's where we're going to start. So I'm going to start at 1, 2, 3, 4. And then if you have a -x, this is actually a -1x. Okay? If you have a -1 and it's a whole number, just picture it over a 1. So this means I'm going to go down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1, down 1, right 1. And I'm going to connect those points. That's your graph. Okay. Our next problem presents a little bit interesting of a situation because it's not in slope-intercept form. Can anyone guess, how would you get rid of that 1? We want it to go to the other side.
Switch them.
Well, we are going to move it, but we have to follow some mathematical rules. Go ahead.
-1.
Yes. Okay. You are correct. We are going to -1 from both sides. So what that ends up looking like, I'm going to write down here so we can see this a little nicer. The 1s will cancel out, and then you would have 1/4 x minus 1. So you need to have it in slope-intercept form in order to use this to graph. So now we can go to our graph, and we can go to -1. And then this is 1/4. So I go up 1, right 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Down 1, left 4 if you want. graph our line. Okay, so let's see, we have some special cases. We're going to go over here. If it's just y equals 2x and there's no b, guess what's there? We want this to be mx plus b, but if there's no b, there's technically a 0. So if the y-intercept 0, it starts at the origin. Okay, and this question, there is no m or b. This one is a special case where if it's y equals 4, what that means is that it crosses the y-axis at positive 4. It does not cross the x-axis. Okay, it's one of those special cases. Now the reverse of that, if it said x equals 4, it would cross your x-axis at positive 4. It would be a vertical line. This has a slope of 0 because it's a flat line. Okay, down at the bottom, this is a little bit tricky. They want us to find our slope and our y-intercept for each one. I'm going to grab another little piece of paper here. So letter A, I guess I could probably do this one on there. If we want to get it in slope-intercept form, you have to get y by itself. So the first move would be to move the 2x to the other side, and we can do this by adding it because I want to cancel it out. So to cancel a negative, I have to add it. Now we cannot add an 8 and a 2x because they don't have like terms. So this gives us 4y equals, and then you just write this out. So 2x plus 8. And your last step, if you want to split something up, if you want to split the y and the 4 up, you divide. Sorry, this is kind of crammed in here. Then that cancels. I end up with y equals 2/4 x plus 8 over 4. Okay, but we can simplify this. What does 2/4 reduce to? A half. And 8 divided by 4 gives us 2. Okay, so then if we had to pick out our slope would be 1/2, and our y-intercept would be a positive 2. Okay, letter B, if I were to try to get y by itself, I would add the x to both sides because I want y alone. And then this would give me x plus 7 equals y. And then the best trick there is just to flip it. You can flip the entire equation as long as you don't change anything. So the x and the 7 were still positive, the y was still positive. I just flopped them on either side of the equation. So on this particular case, your slope would be 1, and your y-intercept would be 7. I'm actually not going to worry about the other two right now. You could just find the slope. On letter C, finding the y-intercept would be kind of tricky, so we're going to skip that. Oh, and then I guess we could do this last one. It's just good for you guys to watch how equations are solved. So this one, we want to get the y alone. So I would move the 5 to the other side first. I'm going to write this down here. So then I would have 3y equals 6x minus 5. And then to split the y and the 3 up, we're just going to divide by 3. You have to divide everything by 3. 6 divided by 3 is 2. 5 divided by 3, we can just leave it as a mixed number. So this would be like 1 2/3. It's not a very pretty intercept, but that's how you would do it. Okay, so we're going to do a few more. I think it's just good to see how the examples are done. So just like on the other side, you can go ahead and we are going to pick out our B and our M. So our B is our intercept, and our M is our slope. So B is -1. Now your slope, down 1, right 3. So that'd be -1/3. So when we go to put that in our equation, we have y equals -1/3 x, and then because our intercept is a -1, we would write -1. The next one, we have lots of negative intercepts here. The intercept is a -3, 1, 2, 3, so our B is -3. Our slope, oh, is this the same?
Yeah, it's the same.
Oh, silly. Well, we don't need to do this again. Okay. I'm like, I feel like this was what I just did. Okay, so what you guys are going to do is you're going to work on the slope practice.